Hi friends, welcome back to Geeky Sanjay. I wanted to share my experience from the recent LLD2 Java mock interview. In my last video, my first Java mock interview failure, my failure is my challenge. I talk about my experience with the Java interview. I made some mistakes because I wasn't fully prepared and wanted to reschedule. Due to time constraint, I couldn't reschedule it. So I quickly prepared based on the previous questions. This time I took more time and was fully prepared. I will share how I prepared at the end of the video and all the necessary resources in the video description. I will also discuss my strategy to take the interview after my initial failure. As usual, we will begin with my introduction and I walk him through my journey from earning my bachelor's degree in 2001 to my current job. If you are interested in a video on how to introduce yourself in an interview, leave a comment on the video. I am aiming for 40 likes, and once we reach that goal, I will create the video for you. Let's back to the discussion. After my introduction, interviewer introduced himself as a senior engineer working as a full stack developer in Microsoft. Before starting, he mentioned we go through different sections of Java. We will start with oops, threading and concurrency, then move on the Java collections and streams. Let's get started. This is the one. So first question he gave me, what is abstraction and how is it implemented? So as we know, this is the one principle of oops. Okay. So I come to the answer very quickly, but I forget one thing here. So I just introduce him as an interface, and I forget to introduce the abstract class is also a form of abstraction. So he asked me a follow-up question regarding this, and then I come to know, and I given him the explanation of abstract classes. So as you know, interfaces is a contract which we will do, and whatever in that we just write it down as a signature of methods, and that we will implement in the classes. And same thing in the abstract classes. The abstract classes is doing the same. Whenever we have a reusable code, that time we will write in the abstract classes. And there is two form of method. First is abstract, which we write as a signature, and another is we can implement it, and we also can write in the default method and static method also in the abstract classes and interfaces. So I explain both the thing to him, and then the next question come to me. Write a code to demonstrate an abstract classes and interfaces and try to make them connected. So as you can see here, this is the code I have written. First I have written the interface drawable void draw, then abstract class shape, protected string color, and abstract void resize. Then I connected it in the circle classes. I created a circle class, extend the shape, and implemented a draw. So whenever we are just implementing any interface, that time it is required to implement it all the method. If we will not implement it, then we will get the error. But if we are extending any abstract classes, that time it is very much required to implement all the methods. If we are not implementing all the method of the abstract classes, then our subclass also we have to mark as abstract. So this is the explanation I have given him, and he was happy with this explanation. The next question come to explain the static keyword and its various uses. So as we know, whenever we are applying the static keyword, which is whenever if we are applying a static keyword to the variables or method, so it is belong to the class, not to the instance. In the variables we can use in the method, and we also can use in the classes. So I have given him builder example where we just write it down the internal classes and we will make it to static, and another for the singleton we can use it. So the next question came to me, discuss the difference between static and instance method, highlight when to use. So same thing, whenever I explain him about the static, the follow-up question comes to me, and he just wanted to know how we can do it. Okay, what is the difference between static and instance method? So simply, as we know, whenever we are using the static keyword, that time it is belong to the class and it is available on all instance. We don't have to create instance to get this method variable. We directly using the class name we can get it. But if there is a static like there is a instance method, that time we have to create instance of that, and based on that instance we can get it. But this is the important point I mentioned there. Like whenever we are creating a static method, that time we cannot call the non static member inside of this. Okay, we have to write the static member only. If we will create instance method, that time we can call both the static member and instance member in the instance method. So next question, explain the difference between runnable and callable in Java and explain how and why future are used with callable. So this is very important question, and you can see it is arise in the multiple interviews. So I was ready for this also. So as we know, we have a interfaces, runnable and the callable, that is a functional interface. So runnable is a functional interface used in the Java which has a run method which we have to implement whenever we have to write a like task for the thread. And there is one more interface, callable. This is also a functional interface and it will provide us the call method which we will implement. And difference between both, runnable will not return any data and not throwing any error, but the callable will return a data in the form of future and it will return the error. It will return the error and throw the errors. Okay, so this is the main difference between both runnable and callable. So the next question come to me, explain thread safety in Java. So thread safety ensure that when multiple threads are accessing the shared resources, the resource is protected to prevent conflict and avoid race condition. And there are various technique to this in Java. Okay, like synchronization we can do. Either we can use the lock, retret lock, we can say it. Okay, and atomic classes we can do, like using atomic classes like atomic integer, atomic long, and atomic reference. This is inbuilt thread safety in these classes. And I discuss about the thread safe collection also, which we can use for this, like concurrent hash map, copy on write array list. Okay, so whenever I discuss about the thread safety, he want me to explain this all the things, because whenever I see my feedback, he mentioned there, I mentioned this thread safety collections and classes in my description. So it is very important you include this all the things in there. Okay, so the whenever we comes to the synchronization, okay, so I just want to give you more detail about the synchronization, because we have a multiple type of synchronization. First we have a synchronized block. Okay, next we have a synchronized method, and then we have another class level synchronization block and class level synchronization method, which we can achieve using the static keyword. Okay, that also you can mention at the time of synchronization explanation. The next question, write a simple multi-threaded program to print 1 to 100. Okay, so I just expecting a little harder question for this, and I was fully prepared. Like previously I got a question, you have to write two thread, and on the one thread you have to write even numbers, and another thread you have to run the odd numbers. But this is very straightforward and simple. So I just implemented here. You can see I created a main class. Always whenever you are writing the code, just keep in mind, just don't write the code. Please write complete code. Like I created a main class and then main method, and then you write. If you directly write for loop and you will tell him this is the code, then somewhere he will feel you don't know about the complete code. Okay, so whenever you are writing or you are doing something, because we don't have to run, but we have to write the code, but write properly. Okay, like whenever you are writing any code for the models and that thing, first you create a base model class, then you start your other models. Same thing here, I created a class main, then I created a public void main. Okay, so this syntax you should know, I practice it much. Okay, so I remember all the, like you can see public static void main. Okay, this all you should know by heart. So you can write immediately. You don't have to tell him, no, I don't know the what is the exact syntax, or you don't make any mistake on this syntax. These are the basic which I learned in the last failure interview. And then here I run the loop till 100. So I explained first him, okay, how, what is my approach. So I told him first I will write a loop till 100, then I will create a thread inside of that, and I will start the thread of inside. So every number will run on the different threads. Then I started writing my code. So whenever the interviewer asking anything, you just first explain him and tell your approach and what are your assumption. Then you start writing the code. So as you can see here, this for loop I have written. Inside you can see a strange thing, int current equals to I. Okay. So why have I have written here this? Because I can directly write I inside of this lambda function. We are just using any variable inside of the lambda function like I. So I will not be there when the lambda function runs. Okay, so we have to be keep there the I. That's why we are keeping the variable in another variable which is holding their reference till then the this lambda function is running. Okay, so always whenever you are using the lambda function, please first store that variable inside of another variable and use it in the lambda function. So why I written lambda function here? So as you know, whenever we are implementing the functional interface, so only one method inside of that functional interface, and there may be a default and a static method also. So I use lambda function here. Okay. So whenever if I write the complete code, that time I have to write the class like task run, and I have to implement the runnable there, runnable, and the implement the method of run there. Inside of run I have to write this system.out.println current. Okay, and I have to pass this current from here to there, and I will print there, and I will create instance of that task class inside of this loop, and then I will pass it. So that I have to do, but instead of doing that, I simply write it down the lambda function. That is very easy. Next question, explain the internal working of the hash map in Java. So this is very important question, and I read about it. Okay, and I will explain in very detail this one because most of the interviewer ask these questions. So whenever we come to on the hash map is implemented like a interface map, and whenever we come to the hash map is used for key value pair. So whenever we have to use key value pair, we have to store, we use the hash map. So whenever we are putting something inside of the hash map, normally whenever we are putting anything inside of this, it will take an index and doing the hashing of that index, and it will just divide it by the total length and get the index where it has to save, and internally it will save array of bucket. Okay, in the bucket it will save the node, and every node has a four things. First is the hashing, second is a key, third is a value, and fourth is a next. So next, by default we are keeping the null, and I will come to you on why it is next there. Okay, so whenever we are again putting some value inside of this, and it will again hashing the index, and if it will come the same index like 0 or 1. Okay, so what it will do, it will check is this hashing and index is available on the same index. If it is not available, then it will create the linked list. So simply first it will array of bucket, inside of bucket it will keep the nodes. Okay, and whenever it's keeping the node, it is also saving the linked list. So next time whenever it's creating a next node in the same linked list, it will take the reference and put in the last node in the next as a next value. Okay, so the linked list working like this. So it happen many times because if we have a many data, and like it linked list will be a big, and we know we have a average time complexity for hash map, like getting the value and putting the value is O of 1. So how it is possible? Because if there is a linked list inside of that, then it will take a n. So yes, you are right, because whenever we are just go through the linked list to find anything. It is the complexity of O of n. So that's why we normally say burst complexity of this is the O of n. But this is not completely true, because there is a one thing which I explain later, but before that, one more important thing I will come to you, because there I just did some mistakes and I got as a feedback there, because I told him to the load balancer. Okay, because he want me to how he optimize the things, because by default, as I told you, he has a array inside of the hash map, and there is some size, because array has some size. So by default, if you go inside of this map interface or this hash map, you will see there is a one threshold. There is an item of threshold 16. Default is the 16 item is there, and there is a 0.75 is a threshold. He keeping it. So there is a one load feature is there. Based on the load, whenever it reaches more than that load, it will double the item size. So as we have a 16 base size of item default, and we have a 0.75 of the threshold. So whenever we make into, it is come 12. So whenever we increase the, whenever we insert the 13th item, so that time it will double the size. So it will double the size means 16 into 2, that is 32. Okay. So like this, it will manage the load. So this is very important question, how it is optimized and manage the load things. Okay, so this is the logic which I forget there, but whenever I discuss with him, I recall it, but he has not given me a time to tell, and he has given me only this point as a feedback there. Rest all is okay. Okay, so this is one thing which I want to mention you. This is very important, load, how to manage the load things. Okay, and how it optimize and comes to the off one. Another question I left it out, like whenever we have a linked list, so linked list may be a big one, because if we have a much data on, so how we can reduce it, how the hash map doing it. So what hash map will do, hash map has a 8 default size for this, and whenever the linked list we are adding the ninth item, it will convert linked list to the tree map, and that tree map it will manage using the red black tree, like where it is just simply keeping all in the ascending order. So whenever we are working with the map tree map, that complexity is big O log n. Okay, so the burst complexity comes big O log n if the item in the same bucket has more than 8, but if it is item in the less, then it is come to the O of n, and average complexity of O of 1. So this is the internal working of hash map. So it is very important topic, that's why I taken much time to explain you, and I think after this explanation you also know what is the internal working of the hash map. And I will share one I will create one article for this in detail and share with you in the description below on my website. Okay, the next question, comparable versus comparator. Explain the difference between comparable and comparator in Java. So this is also important questions. So comparable and comparator both is used to sorting the data, and normally we will use the comparable whenever we are discuss about the natural sorting. By default, if we are sort any array which is integer array, so it has a natural sorting like ascending or descending. Okay, so same way, if we want to give the custom natural sorting to our class, that time we will use the comparable. Comparable is a functional component which give us one method, that is to compare to, which we will implement inside of that. So same comparator also we will use, it is a functional component, and we will use for the sorting, and it will give us a method like a compare, where we will write our compare logics. Okay, so what is the main difference both of them? So comparable give us the natural sorting for the class. So whenever I will write the class, that time I just implement the comparable, and I will use this compare to method, and I will give a default sorting to it. Okay, and whenever I use that class inside of the sorting collection dot sort, because this, if this is the collection, then we have to use the collection dot sort. If this is the array, then we have to use the sort, array dot sort, arrays dot sort. Okay, so whenever I put there, it will take my custom sorting. But comparator is useful whenever you have a different type of sortings, like more than one sorting, so that you can create multiple sorting, multiple classes, and pass there. Both method, like comparable, take one object and it will compare itself in the class. Okay, and comparator wants two object which will compare both of them. So that we will see whenever we will I will give you the explanation of code. So the next question come to me: code a comparator which would sort an array list in descending order. Okay, so for that I have written here list integer numbers, and I created a one list of integers. And same, as you know, I told you this is a very simple and short way of writing whenever we are using the lambda functions. So I use here also lambda function. As you can see, I have written in a one line only. But if I will not use the lambda function, so what I have to do, I will explain that also to you. Like, if I'm not using the lambda function, then I have to first create a class. Okay, like we can say that class name is a person. Okay, in the person I will define all the variables, and I have to write the getter and setters, and I have to write the constructor. Based on the constructor, I can get the instance whatever is passing from there, and I can assign inside of that class. Okay, and I have to write the compare to method inside of that. There I can write this simple logic b minus a. Okay, that I can write it down there. This is the comparator, that is a comparable I told you. Same I have to do for the comparator also, but I just leave all that thing because I write that all code, it might be a mistake somewhere, because that is too much code to be write. So the smarter way, if you want to write the code, use always the lambda function. So here very less chance to do any mistakes. So as you can see, I use the collections dot sort numbers, and I given a lambda function a b, and then I, because it is a descending order, so I make it to b minus a. If it is ascending, then I can do a minus b. So this is the simple code I have written for this, and you also just keep in mind, always use the lambda functions. Just work on it. It is very easy to explain and write the code. The next question comes to me: describe the stream API in Java and its advantages. This is also an important question, and I have seen many interviewer ask in the mock interview. So you just prepare for this. Java provide a functional way to writing the code. Okay, it's allow the concise code, like operations. It has a operations. Okay, streams API provides various intermediate and terminal operations, like filtering, mapping, sorting. Okay, and the terminal operation like reducing, and you can do the collect. These are the terminal operations. And it has a lazy evaluation. Like, what is a lazy? So by default, stream is not work till then you are not calling the terminate function. So if you have written the code like filter, map, this all the things, and you are not calling the terminal function like collect or for each, then it will not work. So it is called the lazy loading. So it will only runs whenever you are using it. And next thing is the support for parallelism. Parallelism is multi-core using. We are using the multiple core. It is not a concurrency. It is a parallelism. In the parallelism, you know, we are using the thread in the parallel in the different cores. So here we have one function which we can use parallelism streams. With the help of this, what it will do, it will divide your stream in the small streams, and it will complete the task. After completing the task, it will merge all the streams and give us the result. So whenever it is divided, it is using internally divide and conquer algorithm to divide the streams. And the next thing is method chaining. So the base facility of this is, whenever, because it will return the stream to you, So whenever we are just writing like a map, so we can use dot filter, then we can write dot short. Okay, sorting. So we can write like this. So this is the chaining, because we are getting the stream back to us. Okay, and till then we are not using the terminal function, it will not give us the result. So this is one more feature it will provide us. So this is the four important feature. Whenever someone asks you about the stream, you have to tell stream operations, lazy evaluation, support for parallelism, and method chaining. The next question comes to me. Explain the map filter reduce function in the streams. I will explain you in very simple way what it is. First is a map. Why we will use the map? Map we will use to modify any data. What you mean to modify? Modify means whenever we have one string array and we want to make the all string in the caps. So that time we are modifying the element of the collections or array. Normally stream works in the collection. Okay, just keep in mind, because array do not have that facility. So whenever we have to apply streams on the array, that time we have to use the arrays dot stream, and we have to pass as a parameter whatever array we have. But if we are using the collection, that time we directly use the array list dot stream, because it is implemented inside of the list interface. Keep in mind this thing. Okay, so yeah, I come back to the map. So whenever you have to modify the item of the collections or array, that time we will use it. So I give an example. Either you can do like you have a integer array or integer list, array list. That time you want to make it to double. Okay, so that time you also can write it down this thing. You can use the map. So simply whenever we have to modify the collection or array items, every item we will write the map, and keep it mind, it will return all the items. You are modifying or not, that is not a matter. It will return always a complete array, and it will return a new array. But because it is here is the stream, so it will return you the streams. Then you can chain another function, filter. Why we use the filter? As name suggests, filter, we are filtering something. So like I have a array of string or collection of string, that time I have to filter. My name is start with S. Okay, so I will just write it down there simply, like array list dot streams, then filter, and then inside of the filter, whenever I pass the lambda function, I will give you the example, don't worry. Okay, just visualize what I'm saying to you. So in the filter we will pass the lambda function. There we will get item, and that item we will apply start with S. So it will filter the item whatever is matching to the S. If it is not matching with the S of the first character, it will avoid that item. Okay, so keep in mind whenever we have to filter. So inside whenever we are using the filter, if the criteria or condition is not matching, it will not give us the elements. It will only give sum of element. Like I have a 10 element inside of my array and only 4 are matching that criteria, so it will give you only 4. Okay, the next thing is the reduce. So map and filter both are the intermediate operations, and the reduce is the terminal operation. Okay, so whenever we are using the reduce, it will return us the result. So reduce normally used to accumulate anything, like you have a multiple things and you are creating a one. Like as you can see, we are getting the sum, or we are just getting the max value, min value, that we can do using the reduce. So reduce is reducing the things. Like if you have a 10 items and it is reducing in the one. Map is used for the modification of the item. Filter is matching any criteria, and reduce to reduce the item in a one. The next question come to me. Give a list of word. Find a list that contains the length of each word that start with B. So this is the code example of the stream he asked me. And as you can see here, I use the list of integer, and I told him, okay, so whatever you are assumed, just tell him what you are thinking. So I told him, you have given me a list of integer and then I'm using this. Okay, if you want me to write, then I will write it down. So first clear, don't directly go and write the code. So I told him, I'm assuming you are giving me the list of integer. So I'm not writing here. I'm just writing directly the string functions. So list integer lengths. Okay. He want to take the length. Okay. Which contain the first letter D. Okay. So first what we will do, there is a words list name. Then I apply the stream. Then I apply the filter because I have to filter based on the start with B. Okay, so it will, like, if I have a 10 element 10 words inside of that and only 4 is matching with the B, then the stream comes to the map that is only 4 elements. Okay, so it is filtered 10 to 4. Now map has a 4 elements. In the map, what I am doing in the map, I am checking the length. Okay, in the length, how much length is, and I'm returning, as I told you, whatever is there in the map, it will return complete item. So now after filtering, map has 4 item and it will return the 4. Then I'm collecting it using the terminal function. Okay, so I terminated it using the collect, and inside I have to pass the collectors dot to list. What it will do, it will take a stream and it will convert stream in the list. So this is the complete code I have written him. And one more thing, as you can see, I am missing one edge case here, and I discussed with him also. Okay, because as you can see, I have not written here, like if there is a big like a capital B, then what will happen? So I discussed this scenario with him. I am assuming you have given me all small words. Okay, if you are thinking big and capital word, then I will add one more map before the filter, and I will just make all word in a small, and then I apply the filter, then I apply the map, and then I apply the collect. So whatever you are writing the code, always keep discussing with the interviewer. So it will engage the interviewer with you. The next question come to me, can you differentiate between string buffer and string builder in Java? Because simply he want to listen me a one thing. What is the difference? Only one difference is there, like string buffer is used for the multi-threading, it is the thread safe, and string builder is not the thread safe. So I have not given him direct answer. First I explain both the things, then I have given what he want. Whenever we have to use. So I have given him the answer whenever we have an environment where we are using the multi-threaded, that time we have to use string buffer. Whenever we are using the string buffer, that time it is little slow. So it is not advisable for the single threaded. And if there is a scenario where we do not have a multi-threaded application, that time we will use the string builder for the performance perspective. So this is the complete description for this question. So the next question asks me, tell me the uses of the keyword final, finalize and finalize. Okay, so this is also a most important question because in the last interview also that asked me, and this interview again the same question comes to me and I was prepared for this, so it is easy. So what is the final? So final keyword I explain in very detail. Whenever we are using the final means we don't want to modify the things. Like if we are using the final inside of the variable, okay. So inside of the variable, that time we don't want to change the variable. If we are using final in the method, that time we cannot override the method. And if we are using the final in the class, that time we cannot create the subclasses of that class. So this is the complete detail of the final. And the next, as you know, the finally it is come with the try catch block. So it is always run even you have a success or error. Okay, only one thing, one time it will not run, whenever if your program terminated before the finally block, that time it will not run. In the try catch, if it is terminated your program, then it will not run, otherwise it will run in all the conditions. Okay, the next word is the finalize. And the finalize, you want to me listen, same we know, finalize is using for the garbage collector. So whenever garbage collector comes to take this object in the collection, that time it will think and reclaiming an object in a memory, it normally think we have to do or not. Okay, he will check the reference of that. So I explain in the finalize, and normally we will not use finalize because it is unpredictable and cause performance issue. So I mentioned this also there. So this all looks the same but has a different meaning. So just keep in mind this is very important questions. The next, he has given me a feedback given by the Sachin Gupta from Microsoft. The candidate answered most of the questions correctly. A bit of brush up can be done on the hash map internal working and load factor. That's why I explain in detail, and I will give you one article on the Geeky Sanjay website where you can just read about it in detail. So as you can see, my final result is strong higher and I'm very happy. I taken a most of your time to explain every concept because what I did whenever I prepare myself, that time I just see my video and in the only 20-25 minutes I revise all the concept. So same whenever you see this video, you will revise your all concept and you don't have to read it again. That's why I keep it in very detail. So as promised, I will share how I prepared for my mock interview. Unlike last time when I wasn't fully prepared, this time I dedicated 3 whole days to covering my syllabus. On the first day, I reviewed my notes. On the second day, I gathered all the questions asked in other mock interviews and compiled them into a list. I even created a section on geekysanjay.com where you can find all this content, and I will keep adding more questions to it. After compiling the list, I use my notes and consult with the ChatGPT to prepare. My main focus was on coding practice, which took me a day and a half. I will share Git resources in the video description so you can all practice too. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you learned something from this video, make sure you hit a like button and press the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram and check out my website geekysanjay.com, link in the description. Thank you.